So these are the type of tankers that would be coming with the LNG to be offloading at the facilities. Now, the interesting thing is for natural gas, unlike oil, we're actually energy independent. 84% of the natural gas that we consume in the US comes from the US. Most of the rest of that comes from Canada. Only 3% are LNG imports right now. So this is a situation where we'd actually be going down the road of oil. You know, we're trying to get off of foreign oil. These LNG facilities would take us down the same road we went down with oil, getting hooked on foreign natural gas, because right now we're energy independent. But what's going to happen, you know? Are we going to run out? That's what the companies are trying to tell people. These are the bottom ones from Liberty, the top ones from the Sea Island Group. These are what they're showing the public. It's the EIA information. We use the exact same information. The problem is they're using the outdated information. And what it's showing is, so this top line in both situations is how much we're projected to consume, and then how much we're going to produce. So they're saying, look, you know, you may only import 15%, most of that from Canada right now, but there's a growing gap. And you have no choice. You're going to need more natural gas because you're running out of your own, and you're going to have to start importing it. Well, as noted, this is the old information. We use the new information just because whatever's up to date makes more sense. They're now finding that we actually have a lot more economical natural gas than we once thought. And so they're actually saying that we're actually going to close that gap. We're going to become more energy independent. We're going to go from 84% to 97%. So 3% total imports, including from Canada. And actually they say by 2030 we'll be producing so much natural gas ourselves, we'll be a net exporter to Canada. So we don't actually need it. It's something that we are energy independent for and are going to be able to stay that way. I'm sorry, I do most of my presentations in New Jersey. We have a lot of groups in New York who work on this issue, so I'm sorry for all the New Jersey references. But that's one where they were talking about the end of the pipeline, and we have it's a whole grid and region, and that's what's really happening. So as noted, LNG is foreign natural gas. So we have to consider, where is all the world's natural gas? Who are we going to get hooked on? It's the same type of deal as the oil, which makes sense. So this chart represents 76% of the world's natural gas. And so this is the top 10. It's Russia, Iran, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, US, because like I said, we have a lot, Nigeria, Venezuela, Algeria, and Iraq. So that will be our energy policy if we head down the road of LNG. We're starting to look to those regions. In fact, Exxon, for their proposal, has specifically solicited Gazprom, the Russian-controlled oil giant, who is the same company that cut off the gas supplies to the Ukraine, which in turn affected Europe last year. So Exxon is saying, hey, Russian-controlled energy giant, we want you to be the natural gas supply for the New York metropolitan region. I mean, this is a country, and you know, and they're talking about drilling in the Barents Sea to get this. This is a country that just last year finally banned the clubbing of baby seals. So I don't trust their concern for making sure they do proper drilling and getting this to us. It's also expensive. That's why, you know, when you add those extra 3 life cycle stages, the liquefaction, the shipping it, and the heating it back up, that's all in addition to the regular get it out of the ground, pipe it, and then burn it. So you're adding on extra cost for this LNG, which raises the price. It also turns it into a global commodity that can go anywhere. Right now, natural gas that we're getting out of the ground in Louisiana is coming up a pipeline, and the states are competing for it and paying for it as it goes up, and that does affect prices, and we pay higher here because we don't have a lot of reserves in this region. But it's still, we pay relatively less than the rest of the world. And as a result, the LNG is going to the rest of the world because it's in a ship. It can turn its steering wheel and redirect to whoever's paying the most. We have a lot of shipments. We have eight existing LNG import terminals. And we found a lot of the shipments that were proposed to come in the last year, they suddenly get a higher bid in China, they redirect, and then go over there. So it turns it into this global commodity that's easily moved around. The same thing that raises the cost also makes it pollute more. Those 3 extra life cycle stages. In addition to the getting out of the ground and burning it, you're cooling it to -260, which requires a lot of energy. You're shipping in these massive tankers, which have terrible air emissions for these international ships. None of these ships are US flagged. And then you're burning more energy to heat it back up. So as a result, when all is said and done, you look at the life cycle emissions, a published study actually found that LNG, the life cycle emissions of LNG, coal, and natural gas, LNG is closer to coal than to domestic natural gas. And it's wrong for the ocean. This is going to have, there's universal impacts from all the proposals, and then there's unique ones from each proposal. For all of them, you saw that ship earlier, when it unloads that LNG, it's only like a cork in the water, and it's just floating, and it needs to stabilize, so they got to bring in lots of ballast water. That's millions of gallons per ship. And so you're talking about all the sea life up there getting sucked up, and either getting impinged on the screens, or getting entrained, and the smaller stuff making it through, taking up a lot of the fish eggs and larvae in the base of the food. So what we're seeing is going to have an impact on our fisheries. These are in prime fishing grounds, these proposals too. Ironically, it seems like the technologies happen to work best in areas that work best for where we have our strong fisheries. We have, the island wants to be built at Colorado Bank, part of the only naturally occurring reef system off New Jersey. They want to smother it. The other two are in the mud hole, which doesn't sound too attractive, but it's a very significant fisheries area as well, given the depths and the drop-off from the canyon. But, okay, I'll just go through the projects real quick. As I know, there's the island. This is their depiction of their little paradise off the shore. They want to dump 14 million tons of material into the ocean. 14 to 23. It's hard to say. It's a 5,000-page application, and then they tend to cite the lower numbers, and then you get to page 3,072 of the application, you suddenly see the number 23 million tons. So I might be wrong, but we're being a little conservative. It's going to smother 116 to 140 acres of seafloor. They're going to take rocks, sand, all kinds of concrete, and just dump it out there, build an island in 70 feet of water, and just solely to serve as a terminal. Next one's Exxon, 30 miles off New York, 20 miles off New Jersey. This technology is the same technology as Broadwater, which was rejected from the Sound. We're hoping that Governor Patterson will take the same stance on this, but unfortunately he's been quiet so far, so we don't know what his stance is. This same technology is also rejected by Governor Schwarzenegger of California, talking about the air emissions and all the other problems. And the third proposal is Liberty Natural Gas by Excalibur Energy. They're a subsidiary of Canadian Superior Energy, who actually just went bankrupt. So, their financials, we don't know if we can really trust them to decommission this technology. They're framing it as, oh, we're not that bad, because we're just these underwater hoses, you won't see anything, it's not a big deal. Just because it's out of sight doesn't mean it's out of mind. To have those operations, you have essentially the ships come, and then a hose pops up, connects to it. The gas itself is heated up from the ship, and then it goes in the hose, and the hose goes back down. To do that up and down, you've got to have massive chains, with each link the size of my torso. And that creates what's called chain sweep at the seafloor. So just two of those buoys, which exist in the Boston Harbor, when they did a study on that for its impacts, it says it's going to impact up to 38 acres of seafloor. Just completely devastated from the chain sweep, going up and down, and it can never rehabilitate because it's always happening. So, another technology, this one was just rejected off Florida by Governor Charlie Crist because of its impact to fisheries, and he was looking out for his people down there, so we're hoping the same here. So how can you help? Governor Corzine and Governor Patterson both have veto power over these projects. It's actually different law that applies than Broadwater, because I was in state waters, but he actually didn't have veto power, so he denied a permit. This is more clear cut. He says no, it's gone. So it's very easy. Governor Crist wasn't even at the official stage of denial, and he just said, no, get out of here, and they left. So this can happen. He can speak up now. We don't have to wait. So we need Governor Patterson to step up on this. We're collecting signatures for a petition. You can sign a copy over there. You can go to our website. Feel free to take copies of the petitions, get them signed by your friends, and mail it back to us. We have resolutions that groups, towns, and businesses can sign. So there's examples of the resolution over there, along with a list of groups that have signed it or expressed their opposition in other ways, and other materials, stickers, buttons. I'd be happy to leave with nothing to make my load lighter, so feel free to take extra and pass them out.
What I'd like to do is if we could just take maybe 5 minutes of questions.